with Half Dozen Customs. We're back out here on the Jeep today. I know in the last video I said that we were gonna start getting all their stuff prepped. We need to get this dashboard and all these dashboard pieces wet sanded and buffed. You know, I think we painted this dash Saturday night, and I painted the other pieces Sunday, or maybe it was vice versa. We might have painted it sometime last week. I don't know. But anyways, regardless of when we painted it, if we wait too long, it's going to be hard as a rock. And yeah, I don't like buffing clear when it's hard as a rock. So if we can get this wet sanded and buffed today, I think we'll be better off. So that's what I'm going to work on. There's a couple of dirt nibs, little bit of orange peel, couple of I don't want to say runs, but sags, some little hangers. We do have a little chili dipper over on the side of the dashboard over there, but I'm not worried about that. Let's just let's start getting this thing sanded up. So dirt nibs, we're just gonna hit those with some 200 or 2000. Sorry, door started to shut on me. Some 2000, and then when it comes to the runs, I paint stick those, and I start with 400 on a paint stick, and I go to 1500 and 2000, and we can usually take the runs out with that. So either that or burn it. Let's hope we don't do that. So I'm gonna start with just some 2000. We're gonna hit some dirt nibs and knock down all the flat spots. I'm just gonna use my squishy block. I'm using the hard side. So some of this stuff gets covered, so I'm not really too worried about getting like up close to the windshield, because it'll get covered. The dust and dirt that landed in is very light, so we don't have big chunkers in here. You know, if we had some big chunks, you know, me personally, I suggest, you know, using a paint stick on those, so that you can knock them down nice and flat. But these are just little baby guys. So we got a little bit of a humdinger down here at the corner of this glove box, and it gets covered. You're never gonna see it. This glove box over here does not open. So once it's bolted on, that's it. You won't ever see it. But I'm gonna hit it anyways, because it's been a while since I've done any wet sanding and buffing. So I think it's a good good practice. It's just in a crappy spot because the steering column's in my way. Okay, so now I'm going to 1500 on a paint stick. That was just 400. Now, you won't see me do this today, but you may see me do it at some point in time. If we got a decent run that is in a good spot to do it, you may actually see me shave the run down to nothing with a razor blade. No good spots to do that today on this. I did not, I used a 2000. Oops, my bad. Okay, I think we got this stuff over here about all that I'm going to do. I'm not looking to, like, I know that this is going to be a show truck, but I'm not looking to like flat sand every square inch of this. Normally I would, but there's just so many pieces to this truck. Like, I could spend months wet sanding and buffing this thing. So we're not going to do that. We're just going to hit what needs to be hit and get it buffed out. So and I think that will be just fine. It ain't gonna be, you know, it'll probably be better than your factory vehicle that you could buy brand new off of the lot. If you look at some of those cars nowadays, they look absolutely horrible. So if we're better than that, I'm happy. So now over to the side where we got some humdingers. So hopefully we won't have too much more, and I'm saying hopefully, and I mean it, of these little sags. We had it happen on the back frame piece, and now we've had it happen here. It has been, you know, since not this past Christmas, the Christmas before, I did that white hood with the blue flames on it. That was the last thing that I painted. And before that, it had been a while. I think it was Memorial Day of that year was the last time that I painted. So it's not like I paint every day like I used to. You know, when I worked in the shop in Chicago, or near Chicago, I should say, You know, I painted cars every single day. Now, you know, I'm lucky if I paint something once a year. But hopefully, as we start to get some more stuff painted, I'll kind of fall back into my groove, and we'll stop putting runs and stuff. Which, don't get me wrong, even when I painted cars every single day, it happens. But now, when you're doing this with the paint stick in 400, you wanna really just concentrate on the run. You don't wanna concentrate on the whole panel around the run, because that's where you'll end up burning it. And that's why you use a paint stick to do this, because if I was to use my squishy block, that squishy block is just gonna contour and shape around the run, and you're wet sanding the entire thing around it. And you'll end up burning something before you ever get that run out. So using a paint stick, there's no give, and it has no choice but to run on the top of that run. Ride on the top of the run, I should say. Okay, hopefully we got those out enough. We're gonna switch over to some 1500. I still feel this guy here. Switch over to 15. We'll make sure we use the 15 this time. 15. So they make these little things. If you guys are kind of new at this, they make these little things. They're about yay big, and they're a square wooden block with a file on the bottom of it, a metal file, and they're specifically made for taking out runs. You use that file and you just run it over the run until you get the run gone, and then you switch over to your wet sandpaper. Me personally, I've never had any luck with them, and I end up catching an edge of that file and scratching the panel. I've just never had any luck with them. I've seen people use them. It just has never worked out in my favor. These runs right here couldn't have been, well, any of the runs that I've had so far could not have been in a worse spot. These are, you know, right on a corner. This one that was up here was right on a corner. The one that I got on the back part of the frame was right on the bottom edge of of the bumper, or I call it a bumper, but it's not, it's actually just the rear section of the frame. But everything has been like on a corner. We got everything sanded down and we're ready to start buffing. This is what I'm going to use in this case. So I have a mini buffer, wool pad, and some 3M rubbing compound. I have two different kinds of rubbing compound. I have a yellow bottle and a black bottle. The yellow bottle, mostly it's used for fresh paint. That's my own description of it. If you've let this paint sit for 3 months before you're wet sanding it, you're gonna need that black bottle. It's more of a heavy grit. And like I said, the more that this cures and dries, the more it's like trying to sand and polish a rock. So that's where the black stuff would come in handy. And then you'll see in a little bit, I'll bring in a purple bottle, which is used with the foam pad, and that's for polishing. Now we're in such a tight, confined area, trying to buff small areas is the reason that I'm using this little guy instead of my big guy. So you'll see me with a lot of small parts and stuff like that, using this little guy. It's awesome. I love this little guy. I think we're good with this. We're gonna switch over to a foam pad now, and get this finished up. You can see I kind of run over everything twice, and I'll do the same thing with the foam pad, and then hopefully, running over everything twice, good to go. This thing, I don't know how I ever did work without one of these. I've had this thing for, I don't know, 10, 15 years, somewhere around there. It's a Mako guy. But, for years and years and years, I would have had to use the big buffer on this. And this thing is just a lifesaver. So when it comes to doing the foam pad, you don't need a whole lot of the compound, way less than the wool pad. So you can see, like, I'm not going fast with this. When you're buffing stuff, you don't need to do high-speed buffing, not on fresh paint. You know, maybe, you know, if you're wet sanding and buffing a 1999 black truck, you know, you might want to kick up your speed a little bit. But on fresh paint, there's no need to go fast. Okay, so that's the compressor shut off. So just a little warning with using these guys. So there's a bunch of different pads you can get. You've seen my wool pad was a big wool pad, and it wraps around the edge of this. So this is a Velcro piece. So the wool pad wraps around this. Now I have a foam pad like this it doesn't have these like egg carton looking things on there. It's just a flat, smooth guy, and he wraps around this edge too. I really like the egg carton guys because it gives you more buffing edges, which I believe helps when you're buffing. But with this guy, because he doesn't wrap around the edge of this Velcro pad, you have to be careful with it, because if you're buffing and you buff into a corner and you hit this pad on your paint, it can rip your paint right off. So you have to be careful when using these pads, and it's like that with the big ones as well. But just, you know, a little forewarning: if you're using these pads, be careful not to bump into that edge, because it will screw you up. So we're gonna wipe this down. And then I got a couple spots behind you that I need to hit real quick on that rear window frame. There was just a couple of dirt heads that I nibbed, and we'll get that done. And then we're gonna bring over the dashboard pieces, and we're gonna work on those. So okay, so these are microfiber towels. I'm sure many of you know, but for those that don't, these are microfiber towels. You can get them on Amazon. You can get, you know, a bag of 100 or 150 of them for like $30. And it's It's well worth getting them for that large of amount for that price, because like if I drop this on the ground, I just throw it away, because you don't want to pick up any dirt or gravel in this that could scratch your paint when you're wiping this down. So if you decide to wash these, don't dry them. If you throw them in the dryer, the heat melts all the little soft fuzzy edges, and it'll leave scratches for you. So I suggest just buying the large bag off Amazon for super cheap, and they're like a one-time use and you throw them away. So the other thing I use is Meguiar's Quick Detailer Mist and Wipe. Now they have two different kinds. They have a spray wax and a quick detailer. You don't want to wax fresh paint because it seals it in. Right now this paint is still releasing its chemicals, and if you put wax over it, it seals it, and then those chemicals can't escape, and it'll end up like burning the paint. It'll dull the paint up on you, and you can't really, you might be able to buff it and get it to shine up again, but it'll end up coming back because you know, it basically it ate the clear, it ate the shine on the clear. So you don't ever want to wax it, not fresh paint. You always use a quick detailer, mist and wipe. Make sure it says mist and wipe. So just wipe her down. This stuff works great for cleaning up the wet sanding sludge and the buffing compound, and you can spray it on the rag or spray it on the panel. You don't need much. This isn't like cleaning your windows on your car where, you know, you want to get it good and wet. You know, just give a little mist. If you get your towel too wet, then, you know, it's hard to wipe the streaks away. I mean, think about like when you're cleaning glass, you know, you go through paper towel after paper towel after paper towel to get rid of all those streaks. It's kind of the same thing here. You don't want it super wet because then it's going to leave streaks, and every time you wipe it, you're just putting the streaks back in it. So just you know, go easy on this stuff. It's a very light tool to use. So this stuff here, like when I have my cars up and done, which yes, I have had my cars up and done before. When I have them up and done, like unless like I drive down the road after like a rain and we get like actual road grime and dirt on the car, like this is what I always use to clean my cars. When we're at the car show, this is what I use to wipe everything down. You know, say you're sitting at the car show and it rains on you, this is what you use to clean your car. The more you get your car wet, the more chances you have of stuff rusting. No matter how well it's protected, all cars rust. There's just nothing you can do to get away from that. But the less you wash them and get them wet, the less you're gonna have rust forming. So I always try and do all my cleaning with this. Like I said, unless I have dirt or road grime, this is it. This is what I use. So pull your car out of your garage, you got a layer of dust on it, you wipe it down with this. Okay, so that's it. That's how we do our buffing and cleaning around here. As you can see, it looks beautiful. Takes a little bit of time, but take your time, and it'll come out nice. I'm gonna wipe down around here because we slung stuff up. And then I'm going to buff these couple of spots in the back, and we'll be back to start doing the dashboard pieces. So now that we wet sanded and buffed this, over the next few days, couple weeks, as it still is curing and drying, we may have a dull spot from us wet sanding show back up. Happens all the time. I'm sure most of you know, everybody deals with it. It is something that happens. It's just, you know, you sanded it, you broke open that clear, you used an abrasive on there that leaves a scratch in it, you buff it up, you clean it up, it looks nice and shiny. There might be a small spot that, you know, maybe only got a half a buff instead of the 2 buffs that I normally do. It was enough to bring a shine to it, so we don't see it now, but in a couple of days as it cures, that dull spot can show back up. We'll just go back in there and we'll buff it up again, and then it should be gone. So but we'll be back. We're back out here for a little wet sanding and buffing. We got our glove box door here. This is the one for the driver's side. We're gonna do a little 2000 on it, knock down the nibs, and we'll get it buffed out, continue on with the rest of the pieces. We're not going to do the passenger side glove box door because I want to do some artwork on that. We're going to end up re-clearing it, so I think we'll just go through and we'll get everything wet sanded, and then we'll work on buffing instead of going back and forth. You know, drag out the wet sanding stuff, then the buffing stuff, then the wet sanding stuff, then the buffing stuff. We'll just do all the wet sanding stuff, and then we'll jump over to the buffing stuff. So it looks so good. Okay, next little piece. This one, I'm just gonna work on the little nibs because I don't wanna buff and wet sand and buff this whole piece. Little pieces like this, they're a little tougher to do because if you snag these edges with the buffer, you'll burn them. So kind of a little tough to do. Sometimes little pieces like this, I'll end up hand rubbing them. But we'll try and get these buffed out with the actual buffer. So, like this piece and maybe that little piece. So you guys seen me use earlier the wool pad. I have same thing as a wool pad, same like abrasive or cut. As a wool pad, I have foam pads like that. So we will probably use the foam pad. Just makes it easier around the edges. Okay, we're back. Got my buddy that owns the truck show up. Just kind of checking out what we're doing. So we're gonna start buffing these couple of spots out. And this is the foam pad that I was telling you guys about. It's the same thing as the wool pad. See, I caught, I don't know if you caught that, but it kind of sucked me into that hole there. That's how you burn the edge. So there's these two dirt nibs that I hit here that though I smoothed them out and rounded them up, there's still a little bump there. So I'm just going back and hitting it again, trying to knock that a little flatter. Switch pads and compounds. Yeah, imagine trying to buff this with a big buffer. That's how I used to do it. Colleen would have been sitting here holding it, and I would have been sitting where you guys are with the big buffer, buffing it. Poop. I burned it. Don't know how, but it happened. Right where I wet sanded. Well, it happens. You guys probably can't even see it, but there's a little burn right there. So we'll have to scuff this guy up and reshoot him. Unfortunately, it's right where you'll see it. Oh yeah, you can see it. You can see the blue on the pad. Bummer. I got a little carried away, I guess. Alright, I don't know if you guys can see it now that I finished buffing it. Took more of the blue off, so there's a light spot right there at the top there. Other than that, this piece came out awesome. It's a shame. It happens, and it happens that fast. Like, I was buffing, we were good, I made a pass, I came back, and it was gone. I was going a little too fast. I didn't have enough compound on it, and it happened. You know, I try not to do it, but sometimes it happens, and at least this time that it happened, I'm sure it won't be the last time. Not on this vehicle. I'm sure we'll have it happen again, but it's a little piece. Now what I'll do is I'll take a gray scuff pad, and we'll scuff pad this all up. We'll pre-clean it, and when I paint those windshield surrounds, probably tomorrow, we'll reshoot this, and I'll just dust a little bit of color over there, and we'll just re-clear it. So, and it'll be all good to go. You know, maybe it'll come out cleaner this time. Maybe we'll get away with not having to wet sand and buff it. Who knows? But we'll deal with it. We deal with it as it comes. It happens. It is what it is. Still a beautiful looking piece, though. Switch back to the wool pad because this is a nice flat piece. As you can see with that last piece, you know, I switched over to the foam pad, hoping that you know, we had a little bit more control over it, and we still had a boo-boo. So all right, no issues here. So like I said, the other glove box store, we're gonna do some artwork on it. We still gotta do the inside of this one. Now this one doesn't open, so you'll never see it. So what I will probably end up doing, maybe, I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter. I was thinking that maybe we'll just do it black, but I guess it doesn't really matter. We're gonna be, like I said, I think we're gonna be painting a couple things tomorrow. We have those windshield surrounds. We have that piece that we just burned, and we have both the insides of both glove box doors that we got to do. Okay, so like I said, tomorrow I think we'll paint the insides of both glove boxes. We'll paint we'll paint those windshield surrounds. We'll respray that piece that we burned. Probably end up doing that towards the end of the day. Because once we paint something, it it shuts down the shop till everything's good and dry. So like I said, we'll probably do that tomorrow evening. Tomorrow we can work on, tomorrow morning we can work on, I think, starting to get some stuff prepped on the cab here. So, but yeah. So, and we probably, I've talked about doing that artwork on that other glove box. Probably won't do that until probably be like one of the last things that we do. I mean, who knows? Maybe like need a little break. Maybe we'll work on that. I enjoy doing artwork on stuff. It will it'll give me a break and give us a little bit of some excitement. So maybe if we're feeling a little repetitive with just everything that we got going on, like it just seems like it's the same thing day after day after day, maybe we'll throw that in and kind of break that up a little bit. But it'll be pretty cool. I think I may have mentioned it before, but this Jeep was owned by the dad of my buddy's friend. And my buddy's friend passed away at a very young age, and this was his dad's Jeep. So we're gonna, when this vehicle came in, like it had stickers on the window, like in memory of, and we're gonna kind of do that same thing, but on the glove box store. So I think it'll be pretty neat. Yeah, so I think that's where we're gonna call it a night. It's 10 o'clock, it's after 10. So like I said, I think tomorrow will be a long and late day. We will maybe probably pull this grill off, and we'll start getting the firewall prepped out and ready to go. And then from there we'll move to like the front cab corners, cowl section, you know, around the windshield area. You know, I think we're gonna get that all sanded down, get it ready for paint. So basically the front half of the cab. I do at some point in time over this next week, we're gonna guide coat and block out the roof. The roof, I put a lot of primer on that roof, so we'll have to see how we do, but I have a feeling that roof's gonna need to be reprimed. So I would like to get that done this week, get it all sanded down, ready to go, and get it reprimed. And then we'll probably sand down the outside of the doors while it is still on the vehicle. It'll make it a little easier for us. We'll do the outsides of the doors. And we'll probably just get those in 320, and because we're gonna be flipping them over and then putting them on the horse to do the insides. Those will get 320, 400 and blocked out. There may be towards the end of the week, not to veer off track, but we're gonna be bringing the old doors from the truck in, and we're gonna be stripping those doors. Me and my buddy that owns a truck, we're gonna do it together. Strip those doors of everything. Those have window surrounds, just like what we just did with the windshield. So we'll have to sandblast and prime those. And we gotta steal all the hardware out of them. Door handles, stuff like that, window, all the window stuff. And then off of the white Jeep that we have sitting out here, we need to steal, there's a centerpiece that goes in the windshield. The windshield is two pieces of glass. There's a driver's side and a passenger side, which is going to be fun to put in because it gets installed as one piece, and it's a rubber seal type setup. It's not going to be easy to do, but we'll have to get that done one of these days. But so there's a centerpiece that goes in between the glass, which was not on this vehicle, but it is on my vehicle. That white one out there is mine. So we're gonna steal that off that truck. So we gotta do that this week too. But basically, I want to get the whole cab sanded down, prepped, ready to go. We got to seam seal everything, and then, like I said, gotta paint the firewall, the rockers, the door jambs, and I'm probably gonna paint the roof, because. We'll see. Before it goes back for the motor, I'd like to get the roof painted. I'd like to do the roof separately from the rest of the truck because it's going to be hard to, reach way over on the roof without sticking, my shirt or my chest hair or whatever. And I'm very hairy. Into the side of the truck, so I think the roof is going to get painted separately, and I think I'm gonna paint it before I give it back to him. So and we have that bed liner stuff is ordered and it's on its way for the inside of the cab. I think that is supposed to be here in the next week or two. yeah, it should be here in like the next week and a half. So yeah, so we definitely got a busy couple weeks coming up here, but that's the plans over the next week. I don't expect to get everything that I just talked about done over the next week, but I'm hoping over the next 2 to 3 weeks this thing's going back to have the motor installed, and he told me that he's gonna try and drive it back here, so that'll be cool. Yesterday we were wet sanding and buffing and burning some pieces. Now I know that we had said that we were gonna start getting some of this other stuff ready for paint, like the firewall. Later on tonight I'm planning on painting the windshield surrounds. I'm gonna repaint that piece that we burned. I'm gonna paint the inside of the glove box doors. Figure we'll get this ready to go again. Though it came out really good, I think it could be better. There was a couple of chips in it. I think once I hit it with the camera stand, and another time I hit it with my vacuum cleaner. And they're very small chips. You can really only see them in the light, but they're still there. They're right in the middle. There's like one here and one down here. But then the main thing is that there's a run on both sides, right on the rounded edge of this. Now, I seen it happening that night, and I took my finger and I smeared both sides. And I probably should have stayed out here a little bit longer and did that again. But with the couple of chips, the runs, and then I think I explained in another video that kind of around where these rivets are, it's a little wobbly looking. So I'm just thinking, let's sand it down with 400. I'm gonna use a paint stick. We're gonna sand it down with 400. We'll scuff it up and we'll reshoot it with the rest of the stuff, and hopefully the next time it comes out better. I try not to have to repaint stuff, but if I'm not happy with it, and I think respraying it's gonna make it just a little bit better, then that's what I'm gonna do. So could we wet sand and buff this and try and get rid of those runs without burning anything? Sure, we could try, but I still think that some of the things that I'm unhappy about aren't gonna go away. So like the wobbliness around the rivets, those two chips, like regardless if I get those two chips out in the clear to where it's nice and flat, you're still gonna see them in the base coat. So I just think that this is a better choice here. If it was mine, I'd probably just wet sand buff it and let it go. But, this is for my buddy. I'd like it to be as nice as possible. And I think just a little bit of work and we can make it nicer. So it won't take us long to sand this down. Now, we could have probably DA'd this out, but I think doing it the way that I'm doing it is gonna get the majority of what I'm seeing out of it. Where a DA, like, you can't DA around those rivets, you would still end up back here, so. I don't know if you guys can see it in the camera, but there's a chip right there, and it is not sanding out. So there's that dent. Okay, so you guys see what I'm doing here. I'm gonna continue to do this off camera, and I will show you guys, you know, it's sanded down when I'm done. So there's so I could show you right here, like, so we didn't have any problems over there, but over here, trying to sand out the wibble wobbles in there, you can see that I burned through right there. I got a little bit on the edge of that rivet too from hitting it with the paint stick. There's a burn right there, and I don't think I got all of this wobble out. That wobble was really bad in there, but you'd never see this because the back of the bed comes right to the edge of this. This is going to be like having a roll pan on the vehicle. So the tailgate comes right here, so you won't see the top. I'm not too worried about the top. More worried about the face. Now there's still this chip here that I see. I don't think that we're going to be able to get that out completely. And I don't know about this dent here. I can still feel it. I can still see some of the shiny stuff. Now I'm gonna sand a little bit more on this. You know, I see there's another little chip right there. We're gonna keep sanding on it, and if I can't get these things to come out completely, what I'm gonna end up doing is we'll hit it with a red scuff pad to get rid of the shiny, because it's still shiny inside the chip. And then we're gonna mix up a little filler, and I'm gonna swipe it with a razor blade, and then we'll run over it with the paint stick again, and then, you know, and then those chips will be gone. So but yeah, so I'm gonna keep sanding on this, and I'll show you guys when it's done. You know, it's not super exciting to just sit here and watch me sand this with the paint stick, so I'll see you guys back here in a bit. Okay, ow. I ended up getting this back piece all sanded down, and we had those runs that were along the bottom edge there. And it's a good thing that we decided to repaint this back piece, because there just wasn't enough product down there to try and wet sand those runs out. Within a few minutes of wet sanding, I started breaking through. By the time I had gotten the runs to where they were completely gone, we had gone through to bare metal. So I ended up repriming. We reprimed the whole bottom edge. And then anywhere that I burned through, I blew a couple coats of primer on, that we'll come back out here later this evening. My primer, I think, is 65 degrees, 4 hours. You're able to wet sand and top coat. So it's 2 o'clock right now. I probably finished around 1:45. So by 6 o'clock, we'll be ready to wet sand this down again, and repaint it. So I'm not gonna go crazy with wet sanding. We got everything wet sanded down. We got it all flattened out. The only thing that I primed was where we broke through. So it should just, I didn't mix up a thick coat. I mixed up a light coat, a thin coat, and we put some light coats on there. So there's no reason that we can't run over this very fastly with some 400 grit and a scuff pad, and be ready to go. So the bottom side of this, where we had the runs at, I didn't do any body work or anything down there, and there was some rust pitting down there. I guarantee you, even with what I just did, we didn't get rid of it all. But we made it better, and that was the whole point of redoing this back piece, was because I believe it needed to be better. So we were able to, I wet sanded down the bottom. I was able to get rid of probably half of the rust pitting with just sanding down that bottom. And now we're throwing a couple coats of primer on there. We should be able to, get rid of another, 25% of it maybe. There's still going to be a little bit down there. It's on the bottom. Unless you get down on your back and look underneath there, or you got it on a lift, you're never going to see it. So I think we made the right choice of adding some primer. I was thinking about it after we wet sanded it. It's like, do I just reseal it and then just repaint it? What do we do here? And I decided, because of the little bit of rust pitting that was down on the bottom, that we would just reprime. So, but it's where we had a chip. We had that dent. Now I got it all out of there. Like, I didn't need to prime for any reason of that chip being there, other than we broke through to the base coat. Same thing with around both ends, around these rivets. Remember, I told you it was really kind of wobbly looking around there. And I wet sanded it all out with the paint stick, and we broke through to the base coat, and even to the primer in a couple of spots. And the reason that I wanted to bring that primer up into the areas where we broke through, this was the first piece that we painted. It's been a week and a half maybe since we painted this. So it's still pretty fresh, especially when you start sanding and you're breaking through. You're breaking through to stuff that's probably not fully cured yet. So I was kind of worried that, like, you know, we'd spray some base coat on there and it would lift or wrinkle everywhere that we broke through. So very light coats of primer over the top of that. We won't have any issues now of that happening. I wanted to make sure that when we paint this piece this time, that I'm gonna be happy with it, because I don't want to redo it again. But I think we should be good to go. So I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna eat lunch and take my old man nap. And by the time we get back out here, this will be ready to sand down and scuff up. Like I said, very lightly. Then we're gonna scuff up those windshield surround pieces. The glove box doors are already sanded. Or they're scuffed up, I should say. We didn't sand the insides, but we scuffed them. So those are ready to go. We just got to tape off the face of them so that we don't get any overspray on them because they're done. So we'll tape those off, scuff up those windshield pieces, wet sand and scuff this up, and then we'll get all those things painted. Alright, we're back out here. We have given this primer 6 hours, so it should be plenty dry. It's 63 in here now, but it was like 67 or something like that when we left earlier, so it is sitting in the correct temperature, you know, throughout the day. I would have liked for it to be a little bit warmer, but you know, the can says 65, you know, we've been right around that. So let me grab a new piece of sandpaper. Alright, this shouldn't take much. There's not a whole lot on there. Not trying to take it all off. Just want to feather it out. Okay, I think we got this all wet sanded down. Just gotta run over it with the scuff pad. So I'm just gonna run over everything real quick with the gray scuff pad. Just make sure that like we get around the rivets really well. Make sure all our edges are good. You know, we got everything earlier, but I just wanna make sure like any primer that got sprayed on there is scuffed. So, we're good. I'm gonna blow this all off. We'll wipe it down, and we'll do that right before we get ready to spray. Now, I need to get the table set up over there. We need to get the glove boxes taped off and ready to spray. And then we got to run over the windshield pieces with the scuff pad. Like I said, I'm just scuffing those. So, yeah, let me get the table set up and get the glove box doors over there, and we'll get those masked off real quick, and then we'll get those windshield pieces ready. So we'll be right back. Okay, so we got these glove boxes out here. Put a soft towel down to get these taped off. So you see, I put tape on my shirt. I'm gonna do that with all the tape because we're gonna be taping on you know, fresh-ish paint. You know, I was painted, you know, last week sometime. So I just stick the tape to my shirt so that way it loses some of its stickiness. Not enough for you to not be able to use it, but this makes it a little less aggressive on the fresh paint. So. Okay, we'll be back. I'm gonna clean out my gun, make sure that that's good to go. Gonna pre-clean everything, get that all ready, get some paint mixed up, get it in the gun, get a coat or two on. Maybe I'll check in and show you guys how we're going, or we'll see you when it's done. All right, we'll be back with some painted parts. Or partially painted parts. We'll see.